superintendent now, which is in Oak Park, Illinois at that time. And then the head of the State Finance Authority came to me a second time and said, Connie, I really need you to take a look at Round Lake. I said, no, not going to Round Lake. You know, I'm going to stay where I am. Then he came to me a third time and he said, Connie, I really need you to take a look at Round Lake. And I said, tell me why should I go to Round Lake? And he said, because the children there need you. And I said, I will apply for Round Lake. That's why any superintendent should be doing a job, is because the children need you and you believe that you can have an impact or make a difference with the children there in the school district. When I went to that district, and there were a lot of things that needed to be fixed, meaning that there were not systems in place, there was not curriculum in place, a lot of work needed to be done. When I went to the district, my goal was to stay for 6 years. When we got close to the 6 years, I said to the board, I said, you know what? We still have more work to do. I want to stay another 2 years. And the board unanimously decided that I would stay another 2 years. So I was superintendent in that district for 8 years, superintendent in the district before for 5 years, and superintendent in my first district when I came to Illinois from Michigan for 3 years. And I will tell you, 2 of the 3 districts where I was superintendent, there was a lot of work that needed to be done because the students were not achieving. There was a lot that needed to be done with facilities, et cetera. In Oak Park, there is an upper middle class district, and I was superintendent there for 5 years. And so just grateful that they saw something in me and in the work that I had done, that they wanted me as superintendent there. I will tell, this must be a Sora right here too. Okay, very good, wonderful, wonderful. Pink and green is the giveaway. Okay, so therefore, I have experience as a superintendent. I used to visit Benton Harbor many times when I was growing up. Even though I grew up in Gary, Indiana, my mother had a sister. I don't know if you knew the Frasers, if any of you, some of the older, you did? No, no, she was a Fraser by marriage, brunette Fraser. And then she had 2 children, Aretha Fraser and Gloria Fraser. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, those are my cousins. And so therefore I came here many times and visited, would go pick blueberries here in the area. And then my aunt would take us to, what's the name? It was amusement park. Not Silver Beach.
Deer Force.
Was it Deer Park or something like that? Okay, that's what, yep, you're absolutely right. So we go there and have lots of fond memories of being in Benton Harbor. And as I said, growing up in Gary, a lot of similarities between Gary and Benton Harbor. So therefore, I'm familiar with the area and I know what can be done, because I've gone and been superintendent in districts where there was a lot of work that needed to be done. And the work was done, but it was only done because we worked together. And the board and the superintendent is like a marriage. So there should be a team. They should be working together in order to focus on the kids. This is not about adults. This is about kids. And if we take care of the children, which is the role of the school district, we will be doing the right work that needs to be done. Okay, we're going to get started because I want to be respectful of your time and see that we accomplish what we need to. I ask that everybody come in with an open mind and that you really focus on the kids. This isn't about adults, but like I said, it's about the kids. And you know what? Whenever, and I've lived in different places around the country, whenever I've gone to, whether I was in Pennsylvania, whether I was in Nashville, whether I was in Houston, the first thing I wanted to know was, how are the schools in whatever area I was going to move into? And I did my research. I went online to see how the schools were performing, just what it was like as far as safety was concerned, et cetera. Those are the places where people look at when they're moving into an area and seeing how everybody is working together to make it happen. I know it's possible because I've been in districts where it happened. My last district was primarily Hispanic. It was 79% Hispanic, 7% Black, but I also spoke Spanish. So therefore, I had had Spanish from 7th grade through my sophomore year of college. In fact, when I left Gary Roosevelt, I took the advanced placement test and placed out of 10 college credits of Spanish. So I started college with 10 college credits before I stepped foot into a Spanish classroom at Indiana University. I know that when you have a strong education, when you have people who are working together, believe in the possibilities, great things can happen. And so we have to ask ourselves, why hasn't it happened here in recent years, et cetera? And you know what? And we've got to say, as I told the focus groups that I was working with, I said, we're not focused on problems. Let's focus on solutions, because all the problems do is to drag us down and we glorify the problems. Let's focus on solutions and what needs to be done to turn things around and make things happen for this school district. So I believe in you. I believe in the young people who are attending school, because like I said, I know what kind of districts I went into and all the work that needed to be done. And I knew that when we worked together, that it turned things around. I remember going into my last school district. Well, I never went in the boys' restroom. So I had no idea of what things looked like in the boys' restroom. And so the kids were telling me, Dr. Collins, we don't want to use the restrooms because they're in such bad shape. And so therefore, on a day when the kids were not in school, I said to one of the custodians, can you take me into the boys' restroom? I almost cried when I saw the condition of the boys' restroom. And I said, we're changing this now. Something needs to be done. It has an impact when you know that things are clean, when people are concerned, when people are doing what they can to make the schools the very best that they can be. And it is possible. So we can't say we can't do it here. We can't say things can't be done. All things are possible and it can happen if everybody works together and supports each other. So the superintendent, as well as the board, they are the leaders of the district and they have to work together as a team or it will never happen. Okay, so let's, what I want you to do on page 3 of the information that you have, I want you, and I'm so glad that we have as many people here as we do. On page 3 at the top, you will see that's the third sheet. I want you to take some time and I want you to sort of get together in like 3 or 4 people talking. I want you to define what is the definition of insanity. Nope. I said and we're going to do it. We're going to do it in groups so that you can discuss. We're going to do it in groups. Then when you hear the phrase, nobody rises to low expectations, what does that mean? And is when you ask the question, decisions that are being made, is this in the best interest of students? What does that say to you? And then the last point, what is the role of the board versus the role of the superintendent? So it's on the third sheet at the top. If you could just sort of turn your chairs around, talk in groups of about 4 and take a few minutes, somebody record and write the answers down that your group comes up with, and let's answer these questions. So, definition of insanity, and how, when you think about the definition of insanity, has there been anything here in the district that contributes to that insanity? When you take a look or ask the question, nobody rises to low expectations. And that's a phrase from a motivational speaker who is African-American, who basically that was his theme. In fact, even in some of our schools, we had that posted in the school. Nobody rises to low expectations. What does that mean? When we think in terms of the school district, the kids, et cetera, what does that mean to you? So somebody in the group of 4 or whatever, take some notes. I'm not going to give you more than 10 minutes. That's the max. And answer, put down what you can with the answers to those questions. Yes. Okay. One person takes some notes. As we're having this discussion, everybody, we're all equals. So we're not separating the board members from everybody else. We're all equals. We want to hear what everybody has to say. Mhm. Don't forget about our friend, this is the most important person in the room. Okay, so be sure you hear from him and know what he has to say. Come on, you have something to share. 10 minutes altogether. Then we're moving on. I left that in the way. I'm so sorry. That's okay. I'm sorry.
Always do it right. Right. Yeah, now you over talk. You always over talk. Yeah. I don't want to stop it. We don't. Yeah. Well, but I think that on the phone that ninth grade, what they expect. You make it that. I go to court. I got to say, with my child. Now, no. 10 minutes. Okay. Only left. I would say that 5. Okay. 5 more minutes. The same. Yeah, what is that question? What is the best? What in the best interest of the student? Yeah, so as the board on the decision and I yes, now. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, I do. I think I have some with me.
No. Yeah. Yeah. We've got about 2 minutes. Right. Yeah. No, it's not very. And guess what? Just by the idea that I'm in the room, it's all about issue, right? Yes. Yeah. One minute. That's
Can you take pictures of our groups working? Okay, we're going to, I want to hear one statement from each group regarding each of the points that's there, just one statement, because so we can get around to everybody, okay? And then we're going to move on. Okay, what group wants to go first? Any group that wants to go first, and don't all volunteer at the same time, because if you don't volunteer, I'm going to call on somebody. Okay, I thought you were saying you were ready to talk right now. Okay, right here. Okay, let's hear. There's the mic. Start with give me an answer to each one of those points. Yes.
You want all four?
Yes.
Okay. Definition of insanity is doing something over and over and getting the same result or expecting a different result. Number two, nobody rises to low expectations. Means that individuals tend to perform at the level they're expected to, and setting low expectations can hinder their potential. Is this in the best interest of students? meaning considering whether a decision, a policy, or action will ultimately benefit students' well-being, development, and learning. The role of the board versus the role of the superintendent. The school board sets the overall vision, direction, and policies for the district, while the superintendent implements those policies and manages the day-to-day operations of the schools.
Thank you so much. Next group, right here. This group. Who's the spokesperson?
Good morning, everyone. So, we're not going to review it. And the district group of insanity. We would like to add, that Ben Harbor has never been good enough. And so, we talked about insanity doing the same thing and expecting different results. And one of our, team members said that, she worked in the district and she had 17 administrators in her 30 years. And so, in doing all of that, we just talked about people from Ben Harbor has never been good enough. There are educators up and down 94 and all over the map in this country that have been here and Ben Harbor, put in the work. And we have never been good enough, not to be the superintendent, but to just be an employee. Even that means being a custodian, right? And so, nothing against custodians, but so just Ben Harbor is not good enough. And so when are we going to start looking, at our own people that understands the culture, that has a love for the district unconditionally, and that's willing to do the work and being a fighter. Oh, and then a couple other things, low expectations. One thing, one of our team members wanted to stress is humanity, and in humanity, no human should have to accept the lifestyle of not being enough. And then, the next one is like, who is this? What is your why? And, but when it's all said and done, we're here today to work together to get a good leader. And so, I think that's important in understanding that nobody rises to low expectations. And then, I'm sorry, I skipped over the best interest of students. And the last one, board versus superintendent. Superintendent is the person, well, what we're looking for. So we were thinking application. So we're past the defining, right? We're trying to move up to Bloom's and get into application. And so as part of our application, we're like, we need someone that's a fighter, that makes good trouble, that can provide creativity, develop a guy and implement it. That's from the superintendent seat. And then from the board seats, provide the governance, the policies and procedures, and having those high expectations for that leader is okay.
Those of you who are sharing, can you be sure that Natalie gets a copy of your notes so that we have a record of what has been shared? So if you could just make sure that you either give her your notes or a copy of it so that we can have everybody's information. Thank you so much. Oh, okay, great. Okay, right here.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? All right, so we agreed on the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result and not, what we said was not getting intervention when you see that something isn't working. So yeah, that's what I said when one of the folks here said that. They also said on the next question, like, why would anybody rise to low expectations? You must have standards and goals. If you don't have expectations, how do you rise? Our children are the consumers. And so they should be able to ask questions. We talked about, having an opportunity for the candidates to come to the school, meet the kids, meet the students where they are, and allow them to ask questions of them and making sure the students know the role of the superintendent. We talked about, the best interests of the students. It needs to be included. We have to have, resources outside of the classroom. We want a superintendent who's making sure that there are wraparound services for our children. Understand that they need to involve the children, the community, and the parents. They need to get out and get to know the community, listen to the community, listen to the community's expectations of them. And then also have communications with all the staff. Someone who's looking to have some type of monthly staff meeting so that they can hear the concerns and collaborate with all of the staff. And then in regards to the role of the board, what came up was whether you agree with them or not, whether you agree with the superintendent or not, respect them. Try to have a good relationship where it's not a board versus superintendent, superintendent versus the board. Don't be the type of person that if it's not your idea, you block it just because it's not yours. Don't belittle them. Respect has to be on all levels, but we also have to make sure that he's qualified, he or she, we have to make sure that they are qualified to be there. The board has to make sure that the superintendent is doing their best, and the board has a responsibility to the community and understanding that there are efforts to dismantle public schools, and so the board also must defend its assets. Okay, did I get that? Did I miss anything? Okay, good deal.
Thank you so much. Okay, which group right here?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deidre Fields. I think nobody said our name. We didn't do an icebreaker. We should have found out who everybody is. But this is the icebreaker. Okay. And so I'm actually more or less mimicking Angel in regards to we don't want to be repetitive. What has already been stated has been stated. It's clear what insanity is. I do want to say that that's an aspect of faith or two, right? So you can do the same things expecting different results, but you're doing different things so that your prayers would be surfaced. So again, everybody understands what that is in regards to the insanity. On the second piece, in referencing nobody rises to low expectations, we wanted to be inclusive of our student. And we have Lonnie here. And Lonnie actually stated, you don't mind, right, Lonnie? Okay, because he didn't really want to speak. But he said that there's low expectations of of Benton Harbor area schools from inside and externally. So there is not an expectation necessarily from teachers for them to graduate, to perform well, to be a good person, so on and so forth. Not all his words, I think I added some, but he really didn't have a problem stating that. And so I really wanted to just expound on that. And I asked him like, how so, and things of that nature. And that's how he shared in regards to that it's not only inside, it's external as well. And that one of the things that Mamie stated in response to that is to actually reach children how they learn. So if it's via a song, via a rap, how do you incorporate them and have them feel that they're rising or that they're performing at levels that are good? We don't have to, we don't want to be in comparison in every aspect because we have to be culturally conscious, right? Everything or every student doesn't behave the same way as another district. Right? We have more arts and talent than any district, if not even farther. And so I really wanted to highlight our youth statement. And then in reference to, we actually asked Doctor what was number 3. And so it was when decisions are being made by the board, is it inclusive or is it for the students? And so I wanted to mimic others that have stated to have student inclusion. And so that brings about the role of the board versus the superintendent. Is everyone working together, which is what everybody has said? Does every voice count? Are students genuinely involved? I know there's some sort of a student board, but are they at the meetings? Are they included? Are they a part of think tanks? Not just, a group that's stated to be in existence. How are they performing? Do they present? Do they have topic time? And so I again wanted to reference Mamie that of course we're going to have a superintendent, or we would expect to have a superintendent that has experiences that would reflect that they're able to make decisions. But again, are they aligned with our area, and are they working with the entire community, not just themselves or isolated board members?
Hello, my name is Dylan Barnes. The first question, definition of insanity, again, doing the same thing, expecting different results. That's the true definition of insanity. Ms. Martin also added expecting better results. I'll say ain't no better, and you know what I'm saying, when you doing the same thing, you don't get what you get. The next thing, nobody rises to low expectations. When you got your expectations set low, how could you rise? That's just me in a nutshell. Your expectations are set low. How can you expect that organization or that group of individuals to rise? And you know, and just to go a little further with that, you know, our customers in this Ben Harbor area schools is the students at the end of the day. It's not the staff, it's not the superintendent, it's not the board. The customers is the students. And when are we going to give our customers the best that we can give them is what we need to be looking for in our next superintendent. It's about the customers, just like in city government. The customers is the constituents. Do we as constituents, because I'm a resident of Ben Harbor, do we deserve better? Is our city government giving us the best we deserve? Is Ben Harbor area schools giving us our students the best they deserve? The big question I've asked the last 4 superintendents, what are you going to do to get our kids back? I haven't got an answer. I think the last answer I got was, would you send your students to this school and board members threaten to kill each other? Well, my grandkids are in this district. And I am a product of this district. So yes, I would. It's simple. It's very simple. And it's called zero tolerance. Because I came up in the same district where certain things wasn't allowed. And when you done something out of that handbook, that superintendent brought you before the board to be expelled, and that board supported that superintendent. Not, oh, that's my cousin, let's give him a break. It's real simple. We got, and I'm just gonna share a little story with you. I'm a licensed contractor, and I build all over the county, Barron County, and the borough. And to go, I was doing a rehab in Buchanan. And I'm a veteran. I'm a military veteran. So if anybody got any military experience in here, you remember getting off a cattle truck when you first go to the Army, basic training. They put us all on the truck like pigs. And they take us, and then they all 5, 6 doors open. We all get out, and drill sergeants go to drilling, making us do exercises, basically dancing to their drum beat. And so I was riding, me and my crew was heading to Buchanan. And this was the middle and high school age group of students. And I tell you all, we passed 5 busloads of Ben Harbor kids going to Barron Springs. 5. I said, look at our kids. They getting bussed out of our community like cattle. Like cattle trucks. And the only reason why our parents can't afford to take them, they didn't send cattle trucks, buses to get our kids and take them out of our community. And guess what? Them parents just waiting on a learning environment that's safe and conducive to learning. So when we start focusing on our customers, the students, that's all this community waiting on. And we as parents, I bleed orange and black. But I was taught a long time ago, you got to give your kid the best education you can deserve. And I was a teacher teaching construction up here, and saw a kid drop a kid on his head, right on the 2nd floor. He had his first seizure ever, still having seizures to this day. That's not safe. So.
Thank you so much. Did you go through all 4?
Yep, I did. I think I did.
Okay. You know, we have some people who, and you know what? Listen, it's like he's got the mic, and so he's ready to go. So, but thank you so much. Love you, love you, love you. But, and I know you would have kept going. So, this group right here, okay, who's the spokesperson here?
Well, good morning. I would say I've heard pretty much a lot of similarities of what we've talked about. But more importantly, I said after working for the Justice Department and dealing with offenders and then substitute teaching, there's a lot of similarities. The first thing we talked about was having a vision where everybody understands the mission. So they go hand in hand, the vision, and then your community, your school, your students, and they move in that direction. And that's important. If without it, the word even tells us when we don't have one, we perish. Pretty much, okay? So we have to be a person that wants to be on the same accord. And we have to be okay with constructive criticism, no matter where you're sitting. I had a hard time, but my workers taught me how to, because it's interesting. They can remove you in a subtle way. I had that happen to me in Memphis, but it was my biggest learning lesson. So we have to be okay with constructive criticism. Nobody rises to low expectations. I was listening to my soror talk about a student that came from another district to come to Benton Harbor. They looked around and saw the clock wasn't working. That spoke volumes. Just that. What does your outside look like? And you want me to step inside your world. So we have to be careful what we're presenting. So that's important. Our students, they want it. I was coming here every month to work with some dynamic students. I didn't care where they came from. They had a story. And if we don't listen, we get rebellion. Oftentimes, that's what happens. And then, is this in the best interest of the students? Do you talk to the students? Do you understand what they're going through? Oftentimes, these kids, they had me crying in sessions. When you tell their stories from their homes, it would crush me leaving out of here. So we have to get an understanding, and they will understand and respect you for listening. That's what they want. They want listening. And then they rise. We got to remove the personal vendettas. We have to, I want this term to come out. Would you do it for me, Dr. Struthers, on hide the law?
Literature here at the high school. One of the things that I learned in law, one of the things I saw in law school, that people would do things that we called hide the law, where I don't know if you've ever worked in a legal setting or not, but laws change constantly and frequently. Just you can look up one morning and what you thought yesterday, it's changed. But the problem was going on that I see here, someone coming in and looking in from the outside. I see people are hiding the law. The board will have this going on for them. The superintendent will have this going on for him. The principal's trying to do this, and nobody's communicating. So everybody's hiding the law, which means nobody has what the law really is. So we're so busy hiding and making sure that our group comes out on top, that nobody's being benefited for anything in the end. And that's what I see happening here. And again, I say I'm an outsider, but it's the biggest thing. I've been here for 10 years, and just so y'all know, in 10 years, we're now electing my 8th superintendent. Something's not right.
Thank you, Dr. Struthers. And then the role of the board versus the role of the superintendent. One, check and balances. You know, if there's no check and balances, and just like Dr. Struthers just said, you know, where are we heading? You know, one person doing it this way, that's very destructive in the long end. In the long run. That's why we keep coming back here, this table. No check and balances. And we have to bring real talk. We can't put on facades like it's all good. When it's bad, we need to speak on it. And then we have to bring programs where our students can go out and be engaged. In Ann Arbor, I'm just amazed at the type of programs the students are engaged in. We can do it here. We've had them, cosmetology programs, things of that nature. If it just starts off with 1 or 2. And then I'm gonna let Mr. Gillespie, who is the coach, do the closing comment.
And that closing comment is back to nobody rises being a coach. You can't rise. All you can do is step out. And then you accept your situation of not trying to do better. So if no one is influencing you to just make one step forward, you're just sitting where you are. And that's even worse than the definition of insanity. Because if you're not climbing, you stand in place as everybody passes you by. And then you accept that, and your friends accept that, and you have a whole school district that's striving to do nothing.
I'm, everybody, we had some excellent comments. And one of the most important things is being able to see this through the lens of reality. See, if you cannot see this through the lens of reality, you will not be able to move this district forward. And I stated in my opening comment, in order to know where we're going, we got to know how we got here. See, we got to know how we got here, and we have to be willing to face the truth and the facts, okay, in order to rise. That young lady said something deep. She said she's been there 10 years and all the people we done been through. Over the years, I have noticed how every year is something different. They changing people up. They moving people out. I saw a lot of great educators come through this building. As soon as they try to do something to improve, they let them go because they helping. You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about I'm dealing with facts, not something that's an illusion, because I've been dealing with this district for 20 years. I remember when we had all of those things going on. I graduated from Ben Harbor High School. I remember when we had counselors that when you come in, they would make sure that you needed what you need. Remember when Mr. Beebe, all of those, we had the skill in the tech center because these were the CTE programs that raised this district. And throughout the time, they began to be eradicated because we were number one in each and everything that we wanted to do. But at that point, it was collective individuals. My teachers stayed right here in the district. I used to go to their houses every day because they stayed within the district. Mrs. Irby still stay over there. She was one of my teachers in junior high school. He's still right over there. And I say that to say this. We can move this district forward, but we have to be, you know how they say one sound and one beat. A lot of times we get caught up on, see, for years, it ain't been about Marvin Haywood. It ain't about me. Because if it's about me, I can't get nothing done. But I've also learned that when we're dealing with our adversary, we must know those tricks that they will put forward in order to bring you down. Because I've seen it, like I said, I've been in the room with some, you know, I play behind the scenes because I got to deal with reality. I can't come to the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, we ain't putting no action forward. We ain't accomplishing nothing at the end of the meeting. I've been to a lot of meetings, I'm talking about a lot of them. And as soon as they see the solutions come in the door, they're going to push the solutions out. Come on. And as I say, I'm only dealing with facts. I love everybody in this room because love is the greatest gift of all of healing. You have to love one another. In order for me to love you, I got to love me. And they say, when you see through the lens of reality, you see it for what it is. I ain't putting no sugarcoat on. I got to see it for what it is. Because if I couldn't get up every day knowing that I'm hurting somebody, knowing that I'm strategically working against you. You understand what I'm saying? That's not love. That's not real love. You know, and I know sometimes it's about finances, and I understand that. Because for years I was blackballed in this town, couldn't get a job nowhere. But it was through the grace of God that I'm still here. And I say that for one reason, because I've seen, and I've talked to some of the biggest players in here. And I remember when they had this meeting right in this room, and they had Whitwam and all of them here. They removed it off the thing because I called that brother about that video. You remember when I called you about it? Right. They removed it because I told the truth. And I'm talking about you had all the players that said they had a stake. But the stake is not for children. That's all I'm saying. And I ain't never, you know, I'm just being honest with you, man.
And that's what we want.
Want to move it forward.
Right.
We have the right people. We have some smart people with degrees. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm being honest. That can move this district forward and hold it down without any problem. But we can't allow others to come in and tell us how to do what's necessary for us unless you've been where we've been at and walked in our shoes. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we could probably go, and because we're going to have to move on because we still have a lot we got to cover, okay? That's okay.
I think as a group, we're doing what's right. We're going to hold the new superintendent accountable. But if we're the search committee, we also have to hold each other accountable. And with that statement, I want to piggyback on what Dr. Regina Stroger stated. We have not had 10
in 10 years, we have not had 8 superintendents.
Okay, and I know we could probably debate some of this, but I know we got a lot to do and I want to keep us focused because I can see that there are a lot of heartfelt emotions and that people, based on what they're saying, you want to see the district improve and you want to see it move forward. And that's the most important thing.
Thank you for this opportunity. I have to say this. All my family went to Benton Harbor area schools and we're all doing well. A lot of things you got to do at home. But when I walked up to this building and came to this door, and I'm thinking, this is a pigeon wing, piece of a feather, another feather, trash. When we do things and we enter a place, my mother always said, we may not be rich, but you could be clean. And you have staff. If I had a broom, I would have swept. But if you're having company and you know you are, you didn't ask us to come, I got up and came. I don't want to walk through trash and stuff. We got to do something with our own self and our own things and take care of it first. Do that. Thank you.
And that is true, and here again, I can identify with what you're saying. It may be that your clothes are raggedy or whatever, but they don't have to be dirty. And so therefore, we do. And that's, as I said, when the students at my high school told me what the boys, I never would have gone in the boys' restroom. When they told me what it looked like I said, I could have cried. And I said, I wouldn't have a dog come in here using this restroom the way that it looks. And so I worked with our department, custodial department, and I said, this has got to be changed, that our kids deserve more than this. And so therefore, you're absolutely right. And and I will tell you, and I'm going to share information from the focus groups so that you can hear what they had to say when they came together as to what they're looking for. I appreciate everything that everybody has said because it's all important. And if we're all able to come together, and if we have, and as I said, a board and a superintendent, that's supposed to be a marriage. It's supposed to be that we're working together, that we know what the values are, et cetera, and that we're working to move our students forward and see that they're the best that they could possibly be. And in fact, even after I became a superintendent, I went around and I met with every community group there in Round Lake. I had 5 mayors that had students that fed into my district. I met with all of the other community groups, et cetera. And this is how I started. When I did a presentation to all of their boards, and I said, there are those who say, can any good thing come from Gary, Indiana? And I said, here's one. So therefore, people need to know, but they only know through what our actions are and how we handle things and how we present ourselves. So that's definitely possible. I want to share with you before we go over the focus group information. This is one of the young men I met at one of the focus groups. So therefore, we became good buddies as a result of that. But I want to share this. When I first became a superintendent, when I came from Michigan and went to my first district, Zion, which was a district with 3,000 students, I said, how do I greet the new staff who are coming into the district? What is the message that I want to give them? And I will tell you, I was a superintendent for 16 years. I gave the same message to every group. I spoke at the new teachers orientation every year. So they were hearing from me what the expectations were and what was to be done. So I want to just share this with you. The focus groups all heard this. And I wrote this, and it just flowed when I started writing, and it's called, If You Believe, Then I Believe. And this was written in 2002 when I first became a superintendent. And I said, if you don't believe that parents are sending us the best that they have, then I don't believe that you truly understand what our families and students are experiencing just to make it day by day. If you don't believe that it is the educator who must change to meet the needs of today's child, then I don't believe that you are aware of how children have changed over the last 20 to 30 years. If you don't believe in the need for adults to continuously learn and grow, then I don't believe that you are equipped to educate the precious jewels which are placed in our care each and every day. However, if you believe that you were truly called to teach, then I believe that you can really help children to learn. If you believe that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, then I believe that you will look into the eye of each and every child who steps foot into your room and say, on this day, I'm going to experience the thrill of watching a child have an aha moment. If you believe that you're not truly teaching, unless children are truly learning, then I believe that you will not be satisfied if a child in June is where he was when he came in August. If you believe that you have been called to this profession, to this district, to this school, then I believe that you will speak highly of this district, of the school, its students, and its parents. If you believe in children, then they will believe in you. For you see, you are their heroes. They depend on you for love, for respect, for hope, for optimism, for encouragement, and last but not least, for a positive attitude. A new year, a new opportunity. Let's begin each day with a determination to make a difference in the life of at least one child and really become the genuine heroes that they are all searching for. On behalf of the children, I thank you for becoming their everyday heroes. And that's what we should be, their everyday hero. They deserve nothing less. And if we don't make it happen because of adult issues, shame on us, because the children are the ones who are going to lose through all of this. So let me move on. I really want to thank all of you for what you shared, but we have some other work we need to do. Okay, so but thank you so much for sharing, and let's move on. I want to share with you, I did a summary. You've got information on the focus group comments. The numbers were not large in the focus groups. We were hoping that more would have been here, but you know what? The words that they said and the sentiments that were shared were mighty. And so therefore, it's not always about the quantity, but the quality of what was said. So I want to let you know what they said. You've got the verbatim, you've got the profile report, which the board created a couple of years and updated this year. But let's see. Okay. When I talked to the focus groups, and there was a group of students and also community members together, there was also your elementary staff members who came, and there were the secondary staff members. And like I said, the numbers were not large, but what they had to share, they spoke from the heart. And that's what we want people to do. And we want people to feel that they're in a safe environment to speak from the heart, and not that they're going to be cut down or criticized if they say what's on their mind. They want a fearless leader who will take risks. And you have to be willing to take risks. If you're not gonna, keep doing the same thing over and over, you have to be willing to take risks. But however, they should be risks that have been calculated and that you have data to support the success of what you're doing. It may not be successful, but you have to surround yourself with people who understand that if you don't make it on this, that there are other opportunities and you want to move forward in whatever way you can. They want someone who's knowledgeable, someone who admits when they're wrong and makes corrections. Nobody is perfect. So you're not going to find a perfect individual to be the superintendent. But then if that person makes an error, are they willing to say, you know what? I made a mistake, but this is what we're going to do to correct it. And I told all three groups when we met, this is not about talking about the problems. This is about focusing on solutions. Because we can magnify and just get bogged down in what the problems are. The question is, what are we going to do about it? And so therefore, this is an opportunity as you take a look at identifying a superintendent to focus on a solution. This is not about friends. This is not about who you know. And I will tell you, a school district is not an employment agency. It's a place to teach kids and to see that kids are performing at a high level. So we're not here to hire friends and to see that they have jobs. We are here to see that we're putting the very best in front of our students. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to see any change, is that you hire the very best to be in front of your students. That they want someone who is firm in their beliefs. They want someone who, somebody talked about mission and vision, being aligned with benchmarks, so that you're not just, a lot of times we put stuff on paper and nothing happens with it. And we say, oh, well, we have a mission statement, we have a vision statement. Well, how have we moved forward? How are we assessing the success that we're having and that things are changing? You have to have benchmarks. And so they want someone with benchmarks. And I always came back to the board every quarter and said, this is the progress we have made. This is what we've done. And you can see the differences, because when you do that, then people know you're serious, because you know what? Words can come out of our mouths and we can say anything. But if we don't see actions to support the words, it means nothing, okay? They want to see that someone is prioritizing community outreach. I will tell you, no matter what, when I went to my last district, and I said, as I indicated to you, is primarily Hispanic, when I went and met with we had a BPAC, Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. When I went to go meet with them, boy, I thought they were going to shoot me down, because they said they had never had a superintendent come meet with them and to listen to what their concerns were. Now, here we are, a district that's mostly Hispanic, yet we were not doing a Hispanic Heritage Festival. And there were a lot of other things that we weren't doing. I said, okay, those days are over. And it had to be more than me just saying something. I had to show them. Do you know, when I got ready to pass, in Michigan, you call it a millage, there we called it a referendum. Those parents came out 110% and supported the money to make that high school better than what it was. And also, a lot of those parents didn't necessarily believe in sending their kids away to college, et cetera, because they like to keep their kids close. Guess what? I put parents on a school bus, took them to colleges there in the area so they could see what it was like, et cetera, so we could build trust. And they knew, yes. And guess what? All of a sudden, we had kids who were going to, my son graduated from Notre Dame. We had kids going to Notre Dame. We had kids who were going to Princeton. We had kids who were being successful, where the fact that people didn't believe in them before and didn't believe that they could do it, they weren't doing this. And so we pulled the parents in, as I said, to be a part of the solution, pulled the community in. And like I said, I had 5 mayors I was working with. I went to every one of their board meetings and let them know what I was about and what I wanted to do with the students in that district. And they supported the work and went to other community groups. They want a commitment to the district. They want someone who's going to be here at least 3 years or more, okay? Probably more emphasis on the more, okay? But you know what? I will tell you, and I work with a lot of districts across the country, it's not always the superintendent. Sometimes it's the board. And that's where the problem is in some instances. So therefore, the board has got, number one, I'm hoping that the board, when a superintendent is identified, even though it may not be your personal preference as to who that superintendent is, that you're going to step out there and support the person who is being elected. That person cannot be successful unless they have the support of the board. So that's going to be really important. Give that person a chance, hold that person accountable. If they said they were going to do things, if they said they were going to be meeting with students, if they said they were going to be meeting with community members, et cetera, hold them accountable. See that they do it, but give them an opportunity to do the work that needs to be done. That superintendent should be the expert in getting this work done. And so we do have a number of applicants for the position, but it doesn't mean that every applicant is the right applicant. So therefore, we have to take a look at that. Treatment for all. They want equal treatment for all. Now, you have this information in your packet. They're feeling that not everybody is treated in the same way. And it should be that everybody is being treated the same. If we say these are our priorities, if we say this is the way that we expect people to be treated, you know, I've always said, and I've told people who work for me, I'm going to always treat people with dignity and respect. Because you know what? I want the same from you. And so I told central office administrators when I would hear that they were yelling or screaming at somebody in their department, oh, I want to talk to you. I said, I don't yell and scream at you, and I don't expect you to yell and scream at anybody in this district, whether they're parents or if they are working in your department. Treat everybody with dignity and respect. There's no excuse for not doing that. And it all starts at the board table and with the superintendent, and it should go through the organization that is occurring. They talked about high expectations for all. And I will tell you, there were some staff who said, they're not high expectations for us as a staff. And so therefore, when we talk about, that's why the statement came up, nobody rises to low expectations. And they said the expectations need to be high for all staff. And that we shouldn't be that some people get away with some things and don't have to do some things and others have to do it. They talked about no favoritism. This is not about favoritism. This is about taking care of kids. And if we really say that this is why we're here, we've got to see that our kids are successful. If they're not successful, if they can't go out and compete, because they have to get beyond the walls of Benton Harbor. They got to compete with kids from other districts. And if they can't compete, and if we don't know what's going on, because I will tell you, I have put administrators, when I heard that something good was going on in another school district, we need to go see what's going on there and what they're doing. And so let's go visit and see what strategies they have in place that we can benefit from so that we can move forward. So we've got to be willing to step out of our comfort zone and see what's going on and how it's working. They want someone who has students as a priority. And that's what we've been talking about all along. It's got to be about the kids. You know, it's not about adults. We have to have the best qualified people in front of our kids, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's at the superintendent's table, whether it's at the board table, no matter what they're doing. And we have to have high expectations about the performance of each and every person. As someone talked about, whether it's a custodian or whether it's a food service employee, because I would go in a building and if I saw that the floor wasn't clean or if things needed to be attended to, then I was going to say something about it. If I went in the custodian's office, I remember when I became a principal in Kentwood, Michigan, and I looked and the custodian had his feet up on the table in his office. And I said, oh no, you're not being paid to sit in your office and not attend to the needs of the school. I always wanted my school. I believe in cleanliness is next to godliness. So there is no excuse for things not to be clean. And so, but you know what? People will only do it if we have that expectation from them. If we don't have the expectation, then guess what? They're going to maintain and continue business as usual. Students are the priority. You know, they talked about, they want to see and know who the superintendent is. The students said that and others said that. And I always had a group that I met with of students from the middle school and the high school. I wanted to hear what they had to say as superintendent. And I wanted them to talk to their friends and others at the school and bring that information to me so that we could put together a plan to really focus on the student needs. And then I could share with the board that this is what our students are wanting. And this is what we have, like I said, not just focusing on the problem, focusing on solutions. And this is what we're doing about it. There's nothing wrong with having a student sitting at the board table so that you can have a report from a student on a monthly basis, et cetera. Lots of things can be done. These are just some ideas, but lots of things can be done to get a voice from the students, because students have a voice, and believe me, if we don't listen to them, we're all going to pay the price. Staff, it was brought up, and here again, this came from staff members. They said hire qualified staff. So it shouldn't be if somebody's not qualified that they're in the position. They need to be qualified. Care about staff. You have to care about people. You have to go out to the schools and visit and let them know that you care. Hold staff accountable. There are people who said that there are staff members who are not being held accountable. And so therefore they do enough to get by, but they're not really assisting the students and working with them at the level they should. ID staff weaknesses and support. So don't just ID the weaknesses of staff and then push them out the door. But what are we doing to support them to see that they are successful? Number one, we shouldn't be hiring anybody who can't do the job. But if we're hiring you, then if you are struggling, we should be supporting you. And then I always say, if in spite of everything else I do, because you know what, I have to look at myself in the mirror as a superintendent, and I have to say, did I do, before I have to let somebody go, did I do everything I should have done to see that that person was successful? Yes, ma'am. No, we didn't talk about that, but I think that here again, that needs to be something that even as candidates are being interviewed, you know, just how is that done? Because, and we have to realize if somebody's not doing the job, we can't say, well, we're keeping them in the job, because then shame on us. And we're not putting our kids first. They talked about uniform teacher practices. So they said that you can go in different classrooms and different teachers are doing different things. And it's not uniform in those areas where it should be uniform. And they were saying that they would like to see the superintendent attend staff professional development. And I would always go in and sit down because I wanted to hear what they were hearing. How can a principal or anybody else evaluate a teacher if you don't know what they're expected to do? So that becomes important. Then board superintendent relationships. Separate personal relationships from the work of the district and of the board. So they expressed that as being a concern. This is not personal. This has always got to be focused on kids. Allow the superintendent to do the job. I think we've heard that from some others, and become a team. They want to see the board and the superintendent become a team. These are areas that can be accomplished. If they can be accomplished, there's nothing that is not possible, but it has to be that we believe and we want to see the district, because when you take a look at districts that are functioning at a high level, these pieces are in place. And so therefore, and it has to be, and I always said, not only did the superintendent have to have goals, the board had to have goals also. And the board had to hold itself accountable for the goals that were determined, and they had to do a review of those goals throughout the year to say, are we doing what we said we were going to do? And if we're not doing it, then we have a concern. Yes.
I think that we've also been challenged with the hiring process of just trying to fulfill subjects that were missing. And so you got subjects that are not being taught that's needed. And so how do you then get the best educators?
Well, I was talking to somebody about that earlier. Yep. And so therefore, there are ways. So here again, we know we have a problem, and we know that there may be a number of problems. There are solutions. And so we need to find what works for one district may not work for here, but there are solutions. And there are ways, there are internships, there are other things that can be done, but you have to partner with colleges or universities, and then, like I said, and with businesses, et cetera. I mean, we would send our students, as you talked about CTE or whatever, we would send our students into those businesses, have the people who did that type of work come into our schools and do training. So yes, but we have to prepare them in order to have them hired. So you know what? We could, listen, We could try to solve all the problems of the world while we're here. We can't do it all today. And I appreciate your bringing it up because like I said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But you know what? When I interviewed for Round Lake and I looked at what was in their strategic plan and I looked at what they said, I said, everything is here in the strategic plan. And all the materials, you got the materials and everything here. I said, I know what the problem is. You're not doing what you said you were going to do. And so therefore, if you don't do the work and you don't put the systems in place, it's not going to happen. And so some of it is an easy solution, but you got to put it in place. And we're going to move on because like I said, you guys have me on my soapbox now. Because when it comes to kids, I don't stand for people not taking care of kids because it's got to be. And if anything is, that's why I said I had behind each in my first district where I was superintendent, behind each nameplate of the board members, I had written on there, is this decision in the best interest of our students? And if you couldn't say that that's what this decision was based on, we're making the wrong decision. So we've got to do it, but we have to work together. One more comment and then we need to move on. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all for the invitation. I do have to leave and go into a charity walk, but I just want to say, I think it's important to always read the room and then to also understand, I think a good way to look at it, if you think of a navigation system, you put in your address and then you get in your vehicle and the idea is that you'll follow those directions, right? And along the way, you may get off and it'll reroute you, but I think it's important to keep your mind on the goal. And I've been a student here. I've been a teacher here again. I've been an employee, an administrator, and a board member. And I'm a taxpayer my entire life. So I think it's important, though, to understand that when we get our next leader, we can blame it on the students, we can blame it on the parents, we can blame it on all of that. You know, I've said on the board table, it's not what people think, right? We had a good board, no matter how much they thought we fought. You know, we got some stuff done, and that's why we sitting here today. All right, we're looking for a superintendent because everybody wants accountability until they held accountable. So I've been a teacher where I had to administer evaluations, and those that liked me in the staff meeting no longer like me after that evaluation. So just keep that in mind, that leadership is not likership. So it's important that no matter what we do, that we stay focused on the destination that we're trying to reach. And that's to get a good superintendent that loves our community, that knows our community, that can handle the fights, right? And leave out, and what they say, mow the lawn, right? So once you're up from that seat, we're not enemies, right? We just disagreed. But through that conversation and through that fight, right, you can always count on people from Ben Harbor to not stick together when we're in the room together. When we get on the outside, it's you versus us, and you from Gary, right? So always understand that. And so as we sit here, let's make sure that we keep our mind on our destination. And no matter how we reroute, no matter how, it might seem, it's all good, right? And the bottom line is, I have 2 children that I want to graduate and have this experience that I had, right? And again, it ain't all good, but it ain't all bad. And so to your last point too, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have educators, we have superintendents, we have business owners, we have all of that from Ben Harbor. And we're not talking we have right now currently. And so there are people that's willing to donate and put in the work. But again, we have to figure out how we want to get there. And the only way we can get there is working together. So I love you all, thank you all, and I have to go.
Okay, thank you so much. So as she just indicated, we have to focus on solutions and how are we going to get there. But right now, what we're pulling together, and I want to take a look at a timeline, which everybody has a copy of, and it should be on. In order for us to move forward, your current superintendent, the last day is June 30th. So there is not a superintendent that has been identified. We can get this work done to have a superintendent identified by July 1st, but the board is going to have to do a lot of work between now and then, meaning some meetings, some interviews. I will tell you at this point, we've got about 14 to 16 applicants, not to say that they're all strong applicants. and the search firm will bring the names of the applicants to the board. We're not putting that out in the public. The hiring of a superintendent is a board decision. The board is to be held accountable for the person they hire, and the board should be supporting the person that they hire. It's my understanding that this will be the first time that this board has been able to hire a superintendent, the board as it exists right now.
Correction.
I'm sorry.
We hired the previous superintendent. We came to a meeting. Two board members did not. But
Right.
we came to a meeting and it was a abracadabra. They selected that superintendent, so we
Right.
have hired.
And so but I meant the 7 board members.
Yeah, seven as a
Yes,
whole,
yes,
but yeah.
yes, I'm talking about the 7 board members. So really, we need to try to get the board to a point where they agree that whoever they identify as the superintendent, that they're willing to support that person to come in and take care of the children within the district. So yes, so that's what I meant. I meant
Okay.
the 7 board members. Okay. We already have, when you take a look at the sheet that you have, we have someone who's been identified as the board liaison, and that's the president, board president, Deshauna Robinson. Natalie and Chantel, we have been working closely with to set up the focus groups as well as to set up this meeting. And I want to thank all of you for being here today because it's like, wow. And I knew that you guys were not shy. So I had already been told that. But as I said, the important thing is dignity and respect, even though we share and we don't all agree with everything. So thank you so much for that. It's important at this point that we're keeping the names of the candidates confidential. Not everybody's going to get this job. And so do we want to put names out there? And some of these people are already sitting superintendents. Some are central office administrators. And so therefore, there are concerns that if their names, then they will withdraw and not want to be considered. So therefore, we're wanting to be respectful of the people who apply for the position, et cetera, okay? Then what? Pardon? Well, but let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. You should, if they have applied and they're calling you, you need to say no comment. Because that is not fair to everybody. That's how we start losing people. And so people may call you, may say whatever, say no comment. That if you're a part of this committee and if you are taking sides or advocating for someone when you have not even seen all of the candidates and you want the strongest person possible to lead this district. And if you are letting someone lobby you to be the next superintendent, you can't do that. It's not going to work. Pardon? Thank you. So you know what? It means you got to step out of your comfort zone. That's right. And do the right thing for these children and not let people come to you and say, I applied, I want you to hire me. Please don't do that. Please don't even comment. You don't want to make promises you can't keep. It's the board who has to elect the superintendent. That's the board's responsibility, even though the board may involve other people. But at the end of the day, if you look at any hiring of superintendents around this country, I was a part of hiring for Fort Worth School District, part of hiring for Atlanta Public Schools, for some districts out east, et cetera. Guess what? At the end of the day, nobody makes the decision but the board. They can invite community input regarding into the process, but at the end of the day, the board should assume responsibility for making the decision, the best decision on behalf of these kids. And it's not about who my friend is. It's not about who my relative is. It's not about anything else. If we really want to take this district to another level, it's got to be who is the most qualified person to do the job. Okay, yes. Yes.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure we're not making people feel like it's unethical. I think it's normal if you're looking for a job to ask for references and recommendations when you're looking for that job. You said the board members, I'm talking about applicants. Right, so it's normal for applicants, okay, maybe I misunderstood you, okay.
I don't know what the conversation was, but no, there's nothing wrong with asking for a letter of recommendation.
Okay.
But it shouldn't be that people should be advocating for themselves and trying to get.
Oh, for themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay, here you go. I didn't know that that's what you were saying. Wow.
I heard that, okay. Okay. Okay, so therefore, I just really want people to know, I don't want us to give anybody any false hope that because you call me or whatever, that you're going to get the job. No, this board is a body of 7. And they need to operate as a body of 7 and identify someone that they can support and move forward with, and that they've done all the homework that they need to do so that we're getting the very best person. Sometimes the very best person is not my friend or my relative or whatever. It's who is the best person for this point in time to move our students forward. So thank you so much for the clarity. Definitely, yes, okay. Now, we are going to screen, meaning HYA, we will screen the candidates. And so we already have interviews set up to screen those candidates. And based on their ability to answer the questions, we will make a recommendation of approximately 5 to 7 individuals that we want to bring before the board. And here, the board will have seen all of the applications. But we will say, based on what the district is looking for, these are the 5 to 7 who we believe you should take through the first round of interviews. After the first round, then we will ask the board to narrow the number of candidates down to 2 or 3 candidates. Keep in mind, we have a short time span here because this process started late. And even this meeting was to have taken place a few weeks ago, and we're just getting to it today. So we can't put anything off. I need the board members to agree, and I have some suggested dates that the board could meet and interview candidates. So, but that's really important that we're moving along, or we won't have somebody identified by July 1st, okay? So, yes. Right, right. We start doing some work on background checks because everybody, I want to let you know what it is we asked them to provide to us. And so therefore, they had to give us some letters of reference. They also had to write 2 letters that address some of what you have brought up, which has to do with how would you increase enrollment? Not only how would you, but what experience have you had? Working successful experience, working in that area. And there was one other question we asked them to write a letter. Oh, successful strategies to address academic and opportunity gaps. So they have to submit those letters to us. And so we have that information and we can share that with the board, okay? So we're serious about this, but go ahead. We're gonna get to that. I know, because we're not doing that on 14 or 16 people, right? When, after the board has done the first round, we will make telephone calls, we'll take a look at the references that are listed, et cetera. Then, after the board decides who moves on to the second round, et cetera, and after they get down to the final 2 or 3, we have a company that does independent, we call it due diligence. There's a cost involved, it's $1,900 for, and here again, hopefully they only have to do that on one person. That goes deep. Deep. Yes, that's right. It goes deep. It goes into just, if you have a record, it goes into any driving violations, it goes deep. So you're really getting into that. So therefore, I know. Okay, so you understand, yes. Yep,
1,900.
it goes deep, yes, but we don't want to do that on everybody. We just want to say, okay, what are the 1 to 2 people? Okay, folks. Okay. Okay, you guys have been doing so well. I know you're getting antsy right now. Okay, yes.
So it's paramount that we have that,
Mm-hmm.
reoccurring this stuff, because sometimes things that individuals fall from crack. And they have done a lot of things in that period of time. And then you deal with other issues, so you have to have you have to have, I say, not just one thing, but some other measures to ensure the.
Yes, yes. I know, I'm a caregiver too. I have my husband, yes, definitely. Yep, I understand, but thank you so much. Okay, let's move on. Yes. That's a good question.
Thing as expungement, and the reason I'm saying that because you can find out.
Yeah, I know you can find out because you have to do it, but they have to also be that.
Uh-huh.
So now on a certain time, now it used to be where it's saying on your record,
Mhm.
it's not showing up if you do a certain check. Would they go into a one people check to make sure that it has been moved? You'll use the
Yes, and I will definitely verify that, but what I'm hearing from our resident expert, that there is no. Yes, yes, definitely, yes. Okay, wait a minute, we got too much chatter going on. And we want everybody to be heard.
He's absolutely right. Nothing was ever completely gone. Because there's a lot of time that if I'm an employer and someone I'm interviewing and particularly in the field, I have a right to know that it feels like, so I know not to put me on my contract.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Some of those things don't ever really fall off.
Right, right. Yes, yes.
When it comes to salaries, no matter what you do, that's never.
Right, right, right. You're right. You're right. Thank you for answering that. Thank you for assisting us. Okay, folks, listen. What I need is the board needs to schedule a date for the first round interviews. We're suggesting, yes, pardon? Yes. Yes, we need to have a date. What I am proposing is June 7th. We will have finished doing all the screening of all of the candidates. I'd like to have the board come together on that date, which is a Saturday. That would be a closed session because interviews would be taking place.
I already be intending to say this, but I noticed that some people may have other appointments. Is it possible to share what the responsibilities or expectations of this group is? Is it just this one meeting? Will they be asked to attend other things? Like, what are the rhythms and expectations for them?
I think that there's an opportunity, and different districts handle it in different ways. There's an opportunity after the board has done the second round interviews, because they have narrowed down the number of candidates. If the board wants to bring this group together to have a presentation done to this group by the candidates to be able to ask questions, what I had suggested was the possibility of their getting some questions perhaps in advance that they could answer. And then if there's some, depending on how much time, because we have to be sure that we're being fair with all the finalists and that they have the same amount of time. And so therefore, but a presentation could be done where they're addressing what they believe they can do for this district and what the concerns are. So that could take place. And then I think, like I said, that's after the board has gotten to the second round interviews and is down to 1, 2, or 3 candidates, and then you can have feedback. People, please, please respect the confidentiality. We're talking about people's lives. We're talking about jobs that they're in. And so therefore, you would not want anybody going out and sharing information about you if you were in that position. So we're asking that you respect the information. So I'm asking the board to come on Saturday, June 7th, then for the board to come again on Saturday, June 14th to do the second round interviews. I'll be working with the board to develop the questions for those interviews. And but I really need, folks, I need 100% of the board. This is a board decision. And so I really need 100% of the board at those meetings so that you have input and that it's not that a few board members are making decision without feedback from everybody. This is what is this committee called? Superintendent Search
It's
Work Group?
stakeholder work.
Yes. Yes. Well, it amounts to the same thing. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, I didn't know we had the police here. Good. Huh? Pardon? Okay, well, you know what? But I am so happy. I am so happy that everybody is here, but you know what? It has to be, everybody may not get, okay, folks, everybody may not get your first choice or whatever, but can you support and get behind? And then is the message the same as we go out and say the name of who this person is going to be? So, and let's move right on. So June 7th and June 14th are the two dates that I need the board to be present so that we can interview these candidates, okay? HYA is doing a lot of the other work behind the scenes, but that's board work that needs to be done. Any questions? Anybody has, burning questions, because I gotta let folks go because we're losing our audience. Yes, yes, oh, yes. June 7th is when, right now, we're estimating that we'll have 5 to 7 for that June 7th, that we'll be bringing the names to the board and the board to interview. Then June 14th, it should be that the board has interviewed those 5 to 7 and narrowed them down. Yes, okay? So that's what we're looking at. I thought you were
Okay.
talking to me. Okay, anybody else? Yes. That's closed session also. Yeah, because we're really getting serious at that point. Because somebody hopefully is going to be identified as the top runner for superintendent. So here again, as I said, a lot of these folks are working other jobs. And so we don't want their superintendent or their board to hear, that's right. And then they don't get the job. So, yes. Okay, let's listen. We can't all talk at the same time. Let's have a, hold on 1 second.
There's probably several of us that's been doing our winter cleanup and the yard work, and I know that's what I've been doing. I'm really like hurting in my hips real bad. But it's just been reminding me of the yard work and the dirt and the soil and trying to prepare and clean up and make sure that the environment of what I want to come out of my garden, of course, the students, the children are the garden, and everything that's being said of what we need to do is almost like as if you're working the garden, that there's life in those seeds. The seed itself, we didn't put that there. God did that. And so it's our job just to make the environment and the soil right, and it'll take off on its own. So this has just been kind of a nature, just holistic kind of thing, that to get that garden right so that whatever we're trying to pull from it comes up healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And there's nothing, as I said, families are sending us the best that they have, and that is their children. And we have a responsibility. We are the educators. We are the keeper of those kids, school districts are. And so we can't just put anybody in front of our kids or anybody leading our kids. And the same thing with board members. We need the best and the brightest, and we need decisions that are made based on what's in the best interest of kids. So without further ado, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here today. Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Oh, My pleasure, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Collins. We're gonna go to the next section
Yes.
of our meeting.
Definitely.
We're still in the meeting though. So we have now reviewed the superintendent review from Dr. Collins with HYA. She did state that we had a robust discussion. I am gonna give it to the board member comments after now. If you have any comments that you would like to state that you did, and then we'll go to our next levels of the agenda.
Comments regarding the,
This,
are these our closing comments?
no.
Oh, just regarding that, hi, everybody, we're still meeting. We're still meeting. I'll just wait a couple of seconds. I want to thank those of you who are still here and those who had to leave. I want to thank you for coming. This is a new experience for us as a board. It's a very exciting experience. And it is an opportunity to make sure that whoever's in charge of this multi-million-dollar, $30+ million budget, we have the responsibility of making sure that that person is doing what's in the best interest of our children. And so this is a very important room, powerful room, and we have a space to really create new and exciting opportunities for our kids. And what I'm hoping is that when we narrow down that search, that this room, I don't know if it's possible, but if this room can somehow have a scorecard or some way of providing input that really informs our decision. And even though I don't know if it'll ever be like public, like when we narrow it down, a certain number of names will be available to the public. But I do think that it is important for this committee at some point to be in communication with the public and finding out what's important to you all. What are the concerns that you have? What things are you excited about, in candidates? Because we can't talk to everybody, but the more of you who are, in a confidential way, respecting the applicants, but really getting insights so that when you come to the table, you are also representing your constituency and you have a say. Come up with some type of score system so that we know what it is that, who you are impressed with. And I think that is the best way to really make this search committee most powerfully impactful in our next decision.
We'll have, at that meeting, we'll have like feedback cards, just keep in mind, as I said, the board makes the decision, but this committee will give like feedback to the board. And that's what it will be, feedback. Not if they're making the decision, the board makes the decision, so there will be the opportunity to feedback.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well,
Perfect question. Is it on the set? Is it, if we agree on that interview date, is it then? Like, that's a good question. When would we meet with this committee so that they can?
Back, got to the finalists,
Okay,
and then, the group will be called together, so that there will be presentation to this group. And also an opportunity to have that feedback card. Each person can put in that the board will be able to take a look at.
okay, thank you. And I just want to say, I do care about your input. You don't have to agree with everything, see everything the way I see it. But I do want to hear your input, your insights, your questions, and your concerns throughout this process.
thank you, Trustee Gavin. Trustee Wackett, do you have any comments?
I'd like to piggyback on Mrs. Gavin. Ms. Gavin, I do treasure your feedback and your input. We need that. We need that helps to guide our work. I also would like to say that whatever we put out, I intend for it to be factual, to be the absolute truth, not made up, not perceived by anybody else, but the absolute truth of what's going on. So know that I'm going to be honest with you, and that what you receive from me will be the truth and nothing but the truth. So with that being said, I thank Ms. Dr. Collins for this focus meeting for this group. And I look forward to moving forward, because we do have to have a superintendent in place. It is a must. Without a superintendent, we have no district. So we need our superintendent put in place. And I also would like to encourage all of us to be positive. We are a great school district. We are going places. Our kids are making gains, regardless to what you hear out there. Our test scores are going up. The buildings are being redone. We are doing some positive things in Benton Harbor. And so, and I want everybody to know that we're just not standing still. We haven't been going backwards. We have been going forward. We've created some programs and put some things in place so that kids can be successful and get things done and have opportunities. So when they no longer are in Benton Harbor, wherever they go, they can be successful. So with that being said, thank you all for coming, and I look forward to working with you further. Even if it's like a town hall meeting or something again, where we can all get together, not just this group, but the two groups that you've already met with, to further put their input in on this topic.
Thank you. Trustee Doyle?
Yes, I just would like to piggyback on Trustee Gavin. Your input, your thoughts, your concerns, your wants are so very important. Who else could give us an outlook on what the children need beside the parents and the staff, the people that are really putting in time with these kids? And it's so important that we get the right person for this. And I'm grateful for this group. And I feel like we gonna make this happen.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you all for coming out. I don't want us to get caught up in that single story, because sometimes that single story is not always the truth. And we continue to tell that single story. The primary role for the Benton Harbor Board of Education is to provide governance and ensure accountability. Our job is to set policies, oversee the effective operation of schools, and ensure that every student receives a quality education. It's about leadership, responsibility, and making sure that our resources are used wisely to serve the best interests of our children and community. That means holding people accountable. That means asking the tough questions. So sometimes when we ask the tough questions, it may be considered that we're being hostile or vindictive or we're hard to work with. So I am glad that we got to do this. What I will recommend, because I'm only vice president, that the president does at least quarterly meetings with the stakeholder group, because 7 of us alone are not going to fix the issues that we do. It's going to take all of us. So earlier today during this meeting, I stepped out and I did an impromptu visit on the 1st and 2nd floor. And I got to see the reality of what our kids go through. Lockers have names of kids that when I went to school in, that was over a decade ago. I feel awkward saying that, but it was a decade ago. Our kids deserve the better. And if we're practicing and saying our kids deserve the better, let's talk it like we walk it. Let's preach it. So I'm excited that we'll be able to get a qualified, world-class superintendent that will put children first. And we can no longer focus on the past, but move forward. Decades ago, I got to set in on a superintendent search, and we were in the lunchroom, and they had 2 of the candidates, and the public got to ask questions to the superintendent candidates, and they got to interact. I would even like to see if the superintendent could do a presentation to the public on their vision and everything, because it's one thing to talk it, and like we say, let's make Benton Harbor great again. And it's one thing to see the reality, what is making Benton Harbor great again? Benton Harbor Area Schools. So I will make those recommendations. And I just want to say thank you. As I end that comment, we do need to go to the next level of, I'm sorry, the next level of on our agenda is open public comment. Do any of you guys have any public comments? Therefore, do I need to read this public comment statement to you, or it's only 3 minutes now? It's a little different. Go ahead. It's 3 minutes though.
Oh, I see.
No, I just want to say that when you think about if your children live out of state like mine do, and we have missed our children greatly, our granddaughter, I think about, can I really invite them to come and consider to relocate from California to be closer to us? And I look at the school and I know what she's getting pretty much in the school district for out of, in Simi Valley, California. And I don't want to have this consideration of something low and where she's getting something higher in another state somewhere. I want to be able to, any family that they're considering to bring the family together or some part of the family has to relocate, I want to be able to think where I'm at, that I have something to offer my grandchildren, that not, I'm not saying it's okay for my hometown kids to be here, but yet I wouldn't bring my grandkids. No, I don't want that I don't want that at all. And I say that to piggyback on this. I'm asking our educators, if you are teaching, if you are an administrator, and please, I'm sorry, I don't really want to hear that your child is going to another school district outside of the one that you're teaching in. Because that means you telling me that you have great awareness and should be a stakeholder in where you work. But yet something's up that your child got to go to another school district. I just want to just say that. I just want us to get this thing right and not pretend like we're doing better and we got quality, but yet you won't bring your grandkids or have your own children go to the school district.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any additional comments?
For those who don't, know, my name is Derek Bishop. I'm a local parent activist, podcaster, youth mentor, community outreach. I'm basically what some of the young boys say, I'm out here in the trenches with our young people and our women. And Miss Rockette, you and Mr. Bones don't know, but Miss Doyle and Miss Gavin know. My last 2 board meetings I was at when I spoke at, I was a volunteer basketball coach at the middle school. And the brother was here too on security that day. And Mr. Prentice was here too. I spoke up, basically said I was dissatisfied with the condition and direction of the school, and I felt like the people in Ben Harbor wasn't getting their money's worth. And at that time, it was well known due to me applying for a job and a volunteer application that I'm a convicted felon. I just got home last year from doing 11 years for armed robbery. And HR and Kelvin Butts was fine with that until I spoke up at the school board meeting. And after that, Mr. Butts directly and somebody else sent emails around to the school and said I wasn't allowed to work no volunteer no more. So that's why I stopped coming to the board meetings. So I'm saying that to say, Mr. Gillespie, no, he just walked out. But Prentice, no, too, the brother right here. I'm up here at the schools here and at the middle school 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more. I spend more time at the schools than some of the parents and some of the teachers do. And I never asked to be paid for it. And I say that to say, I got a lot of influence with the parents, the teachers, the coaches, staff, everything. And me participating in this is not just because I care. I'm actually putting faith and trust back into the school board because I honestly feel like I couldn't trust the school board until I started meeting some of the members outside the school board meeting. I don't know who all else played a role and was responsible, but when Ms. Collins brought up the community outreach and treating everybody equal, that was me specifically because I spent years as being part of the problem. So when I got home, I decided to be a part of the solutions. But my solutions was ignored, thrown out, and they was reciprocated until I chose to speak up against the condition of the people here in Ben Harbor. And I feel like that's a problem. And I don't want to be a part of something that's going to keep doing the same thing because my time is limited. I'm 35. I'm fighting stage 4 colon cancer. I've been fighting it for 5 years. My son will be 13. I don't have no time to be wasted. And I started working and building my own thing adjacent and directly in opposition to Ben Harbor area schools, but here in Ben Harbor to benefit our kids. I would love to work with the city and work with the district. But I do not have a problem with working against it if it's going to benefit the kids of Ben Harbor either.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop, can you make sure you fill out a form and get it to Natalie for us? Of what happened and everything, and one of us will get to you.
One of the emails was sent directly to Naisha Phillips McGee, the principal of the middle school.
Yes, and I apologize. Can you send that for us? Thank you.
I'm always on call for the school. I don't even work for the school, but anytime you guys call me, I am here for being on the expulsion board, to help it out in the community, to probably even selling dinners. I don't have a problem with it. And I really think that at this point, we got to stop with all these check marks and start working with the parents like this young man who has been through the system and has the experience, instead of getting someone because they have a college degree and have never been through the system. How can I say, I know how it feels to be in prison when I've never been there, but because I have a college degree, I know everything. That's not, it's all about experience and grandfathering these people in who know and who could walk the walk to may save a child. We dealing with a different community. I have been in a lot of different schools throughout the state because I work in the state. And Ben Harbor is not the worst school. I'm just gonna put it out there. We are not the worst school. The problem is we allow everybody to come in and dictate and write our book to make it look like we're the worst, but we're not. And I just want to make that clear. But stop writing books based on somebody else, because somebody else has a different presentation of their school, because their school is not good, but they just got good actors. And I'm gonna say that they have great actors, because I done been as far as the UP and I've seen the worst of the worst. I placed the worst of the worst. So start working, even if due to state regulations and funding, he may not can help, but maybe developing a program outside the school where you make it get some of these kids there who's on the road to prison, expulsion, or anything else, to start working with some of these individuals one-to-one, because I work with a lot of single moms. I'm a single mom, but I have 2 college graduates. Stop using that, oh, they come from a bad household, because some of these kids got more money than us. Some of these kids rich. They
But
buy
you see-
better clothes and shoes than me, and I work every day with a master's degree, but I can't afford what they wearing. So stop using their circumstances as a crutch and start saying, look at here, this is what we're gonna do. And start holding these parents accountable. Stop holding everybody else, start holding these parents accountable. If they're not sending their kids to school, then go out there and see what the problem is, because it may be because they don't have clean clothes. But if you get them those resources, they may have CPS or foster care, call those workers. Let them know this child is misbehaving, and take up responsibility, and stop telling the school it's the school responsibility, because no, it starts at home. Because I don't play, and anybody who know me know, Eleanor know me, I don't play with mine. And mine is doing awesome. And every teacher in this building know me, because I email every teacher every Friday. What is my son doing? So that's, stop putting that responsibility back on the parents and stop putting it on everybody else. Put it on the parents. It's their fault.
Yes, thank you. Next comment, and it's 3 minutes.
I just, first of all, wanted to say thanks for the invite from a couple board members. And I just wanted to say ultimately that transparency is huge. I am purposely not speaking as much as I would or could, right? Because anybody that knows me, especially teachers, knows that's not a problem of mine. However, my goal isn't to be controversial. It's to be honest and accountable and advocacy. So one of my gripes, to try to pick a nicer word, is that during school board election time, every school board member is visible with what they will do, right? And so that honed or really touched me when we referenced that phrase of, are you doing what you said you were going to do? Right? Transparency is always one of the first words that everybody says, but are you transparent? And I know this may not be what some people want to hear, like an example being Anita Burden. I feel like I'm a Bearcat at this point. She's in Battle Creek. I see more transparent information about her school district, about what is going on, than I do for my own. And that's a problem. Because if elected officials are not sharing that, whether it is something else they're doing in the community, but what we elected you for was the school district, what's going on with that? What about meetings like this? Or what the agenda or some possible topics? We know how to be intriguing when we are marketing for events or something we want someone to attend. We need to market our school district involvement via the community with transparency. And I feel that if that door is open and if individuals feel invited, and that they'll be heard, because we sit behind tables and have a different demeanor than in the streets. And so I feel when people reference that and say, well, hey, I have a relationship outside, and it's still about conversation in regards to how we can help our community and kids, where's my timer? I thought he was giving me the. So I just, transparency, we have to be integral. And that means being honest and inclusive of the community that you were elected by to serve.
Thank you. We'll go to the next, sorry, is there anybody else with comments? Therefore being none, we'll go to the next order of business. This agenda looks. Yeah, it says board member announcements and comments. Is there any announcements or comments?
I do.
Yes.
Um,
Trustee Gavin?
I just want to encourage everyone to attend Peace Day. It is June 5th. It is an opportunity for us to come together. It is, the students are going, on a civil rights tour. And in that tour, 40 students will be helping to plan this event. And they are going to be bringing their knowledge of what they learned on that tour into this event. And they are going to be promoting peace. They want it just as much as we do. And so to see the community come out and support them and encourage them and inspire them, we get thousands of likes and shares when there's a fight, right? Can we do that when they are calling for peace and they are being awarded for doing the right things? And then we're also asking folks right now to take the 90-day Peace for Life challenge, meaning what is one habit that's not serving you that you would like to change? And what positive habit will you replace that with? And how will you check in with each other and encourage each other to do the same? We're asking the students to do it. We're asking the parents to do it as well. And just imagine what's possible, if 1,000 folks make those types of commitments over the next 90 days and hold each other accountable and celebrate the positive, how that can change our school community. And so it is a positive solution if we show up. And so I also just want to thank everybody again for coming out. Think about what's possible with this new beginning. I do not look at the truth as a negative. I look at it as a mirror and an opportunity for us to look at what's wrong, look at what's not working, and come together and collaborate on how we can correct it. That's the way I look at that. And so I'm hoping that we can look at it too in that way, come together. It's a new season. It's a new opportunity for us to just take Benton Harbor to the next level. Not what it was before, but even better. So that's what I see. That's how I'm feeling. And so, yeah, thank you all for coming out. Let's spread the word in that way. Thank you.
Trustee Roquette, do you have any comments?
Not really, but just that.
Not really, but your comment.
MASD classes are open for the spring semester, so that's we also go to classes so that we are not ignorant when we get in front of you. So it's open August 11th and 12th, I think, and Mrs. Singer will make the arrangements for you if you need them. Also, I would encourage you to visit your children's school. They have a lot of little activities going on that are so nice and that you can be a part of in the evening. And to visit our website. Benton Harbor Area Schools has a website, and pretty much everything that's happening in our district, it is on our website. So you can certainly look at it ahead of time and plan where you want to go and where you want to be. So hats off to MLK. They did a parent reading workshop. Were you there? Yeah. And it was like a little carnival. It was so nice. So I know Fair Plain East is going to have things, and so is the high school, and graduation is coming up. So look in on the website. They keep it updated. It is beautifully done. And if you want information, good information, the website. Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Doyle?
I just would really like to thank everyone who's watching. Did we record this? Yes.
It is.
And everybody that came out, it was amazing. The feel in the room, the just the care and the concern about picking the best person for the job. I am so elated, happy that we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done. You guys have a wonderful
weekend on purpose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming. We have prom tonight, so wishing our young people the best and the brightest in a safe prom. So yes, that's it. And our next item on the, oh, one thing I will say, we do operate off of policies. And sometimes our policies and procedures, we cannot do certain things. So it may come off that we're not being transparent or integral. But we operate as a district of guidelines and policies and procedures. And that's why we have to do what we have to do. Our next order of business is a special meeting. It was 2 dates that were requested. June 7th and June 14th on Saturday at 9 o'clock. Is there, I know I can't call a meeting myself. Yes, so is there a motion to call for a special meeting for June 7th and 14th?
I make a motion that we have a special meeting June 7th and June 14th.
A motion was made by trustee Gavin. Is there a second?
I second.
And it's been checked second by trustee Raquette. Is there any questions or concerns? Or comments, sorry.
These dates work for me
They
and
work.
not all dates do. But these are some good dates, far enough in advance. And I believe this will be great if we can support this request.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, can you please call for the vote?
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. The next order on our agenda is new businesses, Bearing Visa biennial election candidate list. Have you guys got to review the 2 candidates that we would be voting on for the Bearing Visa seat? That is Daniel Buckmeyer and Ann Nancy Morissette Kernan.
I did not, honestly, I thought we were just coming here for the superintendent search and I did not have an opportunity to really
Okay.
review this.
So we do have to have a vote done before June 2nd.
June 2nd. Can we take a few minutes to
Yes.
review?
Yes, you can take a few minutes. I believe they did email us, if you have your school board email. Some of them did email us letters. It was months ago.
So we have to check through our phones. We don't have our computer.
Yes, and I do need to. It's not even a really contested election, it looks like.
It's to serve on the board.
Yes, and it's 2 people applied and 2 seats. already.
Oh, so
Yeah.
they automatically have it.
Yes.
I just like to take a couple minutes just to review them.
Yeah.
I know, I just want to look at it real quick.
Are they incumbents? They've already been on there.
Well, that's a good question. I think that's a question for you because you're on the board, right? For Bearing
Not
Visa
this
or
board,
your
but
representative?
not this.
Okay.
This is the Berrien County board. Our board is, different board.
Okay, well, there's no contest.
And I'm sorry. This is just a review. It's actually not a vote. The vote is at the work session.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So we do have
And
a
if-
work session coming up on the
Vice
27th.
Vice President Bowles?
Yes.
Bowens, if it's possible, I don't know, is it possible to request them just submit information to us?
Yes, Madam Secretary, is it possible that we send an email or a correspondence to John Prose asking for him to have a bio or something, information on why they're wanting to serve on the board for the regional education?
I'll reach out to, Christie Bull,
at Mary Lisa, who's the one that started the election information, candidates have bios, but they're looking to
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Therefore, being that you guys are aware at the next one, at the work session, we will be voting on that. We'll be getting information to them. And again, this is an uncontested election, but it's still sometimes we can support people that do not support public education in the way that we support it or that's equitable. Being therefore, is there any questions or comments on that? Therefore, being none, our next item on the agenda is adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn this special board meeting.
A motion was made by trustee Raquette
Second.
and second by trustee Doyle. Madam Secretary, can you please call the vote?
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
trustee Gavin,
Yes.
trustee Doyle.
Yes.
The meeting has been adjourned at 11:26.